Do you need to be a producer in order to be a successful DJ? It's a big question really, because if you're putting all your time in behind the decks and not putting any time into producing, are you wasting your time? Do you need to be putting the time in the studio, or is it okay to use your time behind the decks, learn how to mix, and still be successful? Today, we're going to be discussing that and more. Stick around if you're interested. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe with notifications on, and if you're feeling extra cheeky, drop the video a like. So yo, how you doing guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am DJ Kiz Walsh, and today I'm going to be talking about producing, specifically DJing and producing at like an entry level, amateur level, and what is actually best to spend your time doing. So I've been watching loads of podcasts, interviews, videos recently of DJs, big and small, talking about how they kind of got into clubs, how they started their career, and what they focused their time into. I think it was very apparent early on that, of course, DJing and producing go hand in hand perfectly. DJing is a way of performing live electronic music. So, of course, it does depend on what type of music you are producing. If you're producing any type of music remotely in the dance world, of course, you will eventually probably end up being a DJ. Even if you don't really want to be a DJ, you see so many big artists that start off producing tracks in their bedroom, never have any ambition or goal to be a DJ. They just want to create good music for people. And they end up being headlining acts, festival, topping the charts of all these crazy events. And they never had dreams of doing that. They just wanted to create music. And then on the flip side of that, you have DJs who spend hours and hours and hours perfecting the craft, learning how to mix every genre, learning how to mix every style of track together, but never achieve the heights of these massive producers. Of course, they sit hand in hand so well. You see so many people who do want to be DJs and they do want to be producers, and they produce tracks that fit well in their DJ sets. People like Patrick Topping, James Hype, of course, we speak about all the time. These guys were DJs, and they've started producing the tracks that they wanted to play in their sets, and it just fits so well hand in hand together. But not everything is always as clear as that. Sometimes there's uncertainty about where your time is best spent. Of course, if you are interested in DJing, if that's your main kind of focus and that's where you want to focus your time into, is it a waste of time putting all your time into learning how to DJ? Or should you be splitting that? Should you be going, okay, well, instead of spending 2 hours or an hour a day behind the decks, I'm going to spend half an hour behind the decks, half an hour behind Ableton or whatever program you might use? Or is it a case of learning how to DJ is actually completely irrelevant because the ceiling on that is so small and I'm not going to be able to reach the targets I want to reach. Therefore, I should spend 1 hour a week behind the decks, and I should spend 6 hours or even more potentially behind the computer learning and perfecting how to create music. Well, just like everything, I think that there's definitely a balance, but it honestly depends on what you want to achieve in your career. So of course, someone like me, I am completely interested in DJing. That is my number one focus. That is my number one interest. Now, however, I have produced tracks before. I've sat and learned Ableton. I've spent hours and hours learning how to use it, making tracks. Of course, they're not that great because I haven't put the time into learning how to make great music on there. But I'm still interested in that side of, that side of the industry. I'm still interested in creating tracks. I'm still interested in creating music. However, at this stage of my career, I've just accepted the fact that that isn't where I'm at yet. I still haven't achieved the stuff I want to achieve in the DJing side of it. So why would I switch my focus from the DJing stuff over to producing stuff? Now, you could say, well, there is definitely a lot more opportunity to be more successful in a producing kind of scenario, right? Because realistically with DJing, if you don't produce any of your own music, there is a limit of where you can get. Sure, you can be a local club DJ, you can earn a fairly good living, you'll have a nice car, you'll be able to pay your rent. But realistically, are you gonna earn the big money? Are you gonna be able to travel the world? Are you gonna be able to buy a Ferrari? Of course, these are things that many people get to do anyway. But once you start selling a lot of records, once you start topping the Beatport charts, once you start touring America, these are things that become, a possibility. And you see it time and time again, DJs that kind of really came from nothing, they end up releasing a few tracks, they blow up, they start touring the world. The next thing you know, they're in mansions and they have the best cars in the world. And of course, they started in the exact same situation, you know, we are in. They didn't know how to create amazing music. They didn't know how to use programs. They didn't know whether to focus their time into DJing or into producing. But through their own little path, through their own little way, they found a way to make it successful. And I think that, of course, is very inspiring. So realistically here, the point is that you need to actually have a discussion with yourself and find out exactly where you want to take your own career. Are you interested in producing? Is sitting behind a computer for 2 hours and creating your own music something that really gets you going? Is it something that inspires you? Is it something that makes you get out of bed in the morning? Or is creating the mixes? Is it standing behind the decks? Is it playing to people? Because realistically, both of these things, although they sit in hand very well, in your early stages of your career, you can't focus on both. You can't become a really good DJ and build a DJ following and, you know, get all the followers on Instagram and get the subscribers and get the listens on SoundCloud whilst creating really good music and trying to grow that part of your career. Because realistically, there's only so much time you have in a day, especially early on in your career. You know, if you're a young lad or young woman, you're probably going to school and learning how to do other things. If you're a bit older, like me, you've probably got a full-time job where you have to go and earn money so that you can afford to pay for stuff. You've only got a certain amount of time. You've got to focus somewhere. You can't focus your time into doing YouTube and then still learning how to DJ, you know, at a really high level, then producing stuff on Ableton. There's not enough time in the day to be able to do all these things very well. So you need to kind of figure out where your focus and your energy is going to be. As I said, if you're really into producing music, if that's something that you're interested in, and it should be obvious that is your avenue. If you're really into DJing, you really want to perform in front of people, that is your key goal. All you want to do is be in a nightclub, behind the decks, and play to 100, 200 people and just get people dancing. Then spend your time behind the decks. You know, it's very, very obvious for me that very early on, my focus was I just wanted to make people dance. I wanted to play music. I wanted to express my style and my choice of music amongst other people. So when I sat down behind Ableton and spent hours producing and I was learning how to do little tiny things that didn't really make much of a difference on the track I was producing, and it took hours to do, I was like, okay, this isn't really for me. Now, does that mean I'm never going to go down a producing route? Absolutely not, because I know for a fact that is something that does interest me genuinely. But at the moment in time, it's not my main focus. I have goals that I've set myself, especially here on YouTube. You know, I've already obviously just hit 1,000 subscribers, which is amazing, but I want 100,000 subscriber plaque. That is a goal of mine. So it's about setting yourself goals. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to do with your time? I have a DJ that I went to university with, Max Moyes. He was a resident DJ in Leeds. He's moved down to London and he's a resident DJ down there now. And his advice very early on to me was, he said, listen, stop DJing, start producing. He said, sure, DJing's fun, and you know, once you start playing in clubs, it's amazing. But he said, once you've done it for a couple of years, you will regret not spending that time producing, because you need to, in order to be really successful, you need to spend the hours producing and release the tracks and build the following and build the fan base, because there's a lot more money there. And that is realistically, obviously, how you're going to be more successful, is by building, you know, the money through producing. But I think like it was very easy of him to say that to me, because of course he had already achieved those things. He had already played at, you know, the festivals. He'd already got the DJ residency. So because he had already achieved all those things, he was kind of taking them for granted a little bit. He was going, okay, well, sure, I've achieved all this stuff, but I could have achieved more if I possibly spent more time elsewhere. And of course, they are only possibilities. He could have spent hours and hours and hours producing and could have got nowhere, because, you know, it's all down to luck, especially in the producing game, especially in, you know, the house and seeing there's so many people doing it. Can you be good enough to do that? Of course, you'll never know unless you try. But do you want to try? Is that your main aim? Do you want to be a producer? Do you want to be a DJ? Once you get to a point, let's say with the DJing stuff, like Max, for example, my friend that I spoke about, once he got to the point where he was a resident DJ, he was only doing 3 nights a week. He was earning good money. He'd spend all of his other time producing. So he put himself in a position where he could do what he loved and he could produce as well. Of course, that is the ideal situation, is that you learn how to DJ, you develop a love and understanding for music, you develop a real kind of deep intelligence for what people want on the dance floor, and then you can take what you've learned and you can take that into your producing career, and you can give it something, you know, with a lot of kind of weight behind. You've learned, you've put the hours in, you've learned the hard graft in the clubs, you know what works, you know the bangers, you know what BPM, you've learned what you want to do, and you can take that and focus that into your own music. So my advice here is to do what makes you happy. Achieve your goals. If you want to be a producer, put your time into producing. If you want to be a DJ, put your time into DJing. Should you do both at once? In my opinion, probably not. Unless you have a lot of time free, unless you're going to school and you've got loads of time and you don't really work that much and you've got loads, if you've got a lot of time, focus on both. But for me, early on, it's about focusing on one. It's a very good entrepreneur tip. Focus on one, get very good at that, and once you've achieved a little bit in that, then move on to something else. I hope this video helped you. I hope we've created a little bit of a discussion down below in the comments. So yeah, subscribe to the channel if you are new around here, and of course drop the video a like. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. See you later.